All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so hope you enjoyed my morning dance. I think I'm going to pause this and go get some coffee real quick before we get into this. All right. I am ready. I got my coffee. I got my monkey. I don't know. Okay. I got another video after this one I'll be putting out, and I'm going to go ahead and schedule live for tomorrow and we'll read some cards, y'all. I'm ready. I'm ready to read some cards. Are you ready? Okay. Today, though, we're going to talk about CRT, critical race theory. Okay. I don't want to do all my videos in one day, but I have a few that I'm going to be getting out. So, anyways, critical race theory. Let's check this out. I want to first read to you what the definition is. Understanding activism jargon. I gotta move me again. School activists employ an array of new words and phrases to describe their beliefs and goals. If you hear many of these phrases and can't figure out what they mean, that's because it's by design. This vocabulary is intended to mislead, to make harmful and extreme ideas sound admirable, and to conceal meaning through ambiguity. 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 Anyways, I can't say that right. We've established that. So, anyways, this is, you can sign up on here for more information about it. Anti-racism. Everyone should be opposed to racism. However, anti-racism is an Orwellian phrase whose meaning is the exact opposite of how it sounds. To be an anti-racist, you must agree that our society is in every aspect is racist, and that the remedy is to embrace sweeping new forms of racial discrimination. So, schools frequently assign the book How to Be an Anti-Racist, written by activist and writer Ibram X. Kendi. Kendi writes that the most threatening racist movement is the regular American's drive for a race neutral society. Kendi has admitted what anti racism really means in practice. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination. In other words, supporting anti racism actually means supporting racism, discriminating against people based on the color of their skin. Anti racism is incredibly destructive to our schools and communities. Its goal is to separate people into racial identity groups and then encourage feelings of shame, guilt, anger, and resentment toward the other groups. It divides our kids and our society into good people and bad people. The good people are those who publicly devote themselves to supporting anti racist demands. And the bad people are not just those who commit acts of actual racism, but those who retain the belief articulated so beautifully by Martin Luther King Jr. of judging people not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. In other words, whether you're a racist no longer depends on your actions. It depends on whether you unquestionably obey the demands of anti racist activists. Equity, equity, equity. This word is commonly understood to mean fairness or justice, but it is now used by activists to mean something much more specific: equality of outcomes becomes different racial groups or between equality of outcomes between different racial groups. When you hear activists demand equality, what they're actually saying is the basic American value of equality, of opportunity, that the rules should apply equally to everyone, regardless of race, is racist, because equality of opportunity doesn't always produce equality of results. The solution is equity, or attempting to achieve equality of results through discrimination. An example is the adoption by elite universities of quotas that deny admission to highly qualified Asian students in order to reduce the proportion of Asians in the student body, regardless of academic merit. Critical race theory. This is an academic term for a set of beliefs about a race in America. We suggest reading the article for more information on it. All of the terms in this guide are important building blocks of CRT. So by reading them, you will gain a useful understanding of the theory's overall doctrine and goals. Systemic or structural racism. Under critical race theory, systematic racism is the only permissible explanation for differences in outcomes between racial groups. The concept of systemic racism is intended to be hard to pin down. If you ask how a system, as opposed to individual people and their individual actions, can be racist, you will not get a coherent answer. Accusing our entire society of structural racism is part of a strategy that seeks to justify radical destructive political changes. If everything is racist, then everything must be torn down. So basically, it is all political. I remember a couple years ago, well, it was at the beginning of COVID. I didn't talk about it on here. I started my channel right around the pandemic, maybe during that time or whatever, 4 years ago. But I wasn't active on, putting stuff up. But I had told my family, look, like we took the kids out of public school immediately. But I had told them, look, they're going to be teaching racism in school. And that's when the Black Lives Matter was going on, the movement. And no one believed me. And that's when, they're like, oh, you're just racist. And it worked. It was working. What they were putting on us was working. And I'm not a bit racist. I don't see color. I am colorblind. I feel like that we are all the same. I mean, I love people. People are beautiful. Just people are beautiful. That's all there is to it. And most people are generally good people, or they want to be good. And it doesn't matter what their background is or the ethnicity of them or anything. It doesn't matter. So, hang on. Read a little bit more, and then I want to show you some videos. Love you guys. Bye. So social justice, this phrase is cleverly designed to make radical political views sound non-political and virtuous. You're not opposed to justice, are you? Because what would make you a supporter of injustice? The phrase itself has no concrete meaning, which is a part of why it is so useful. If you hear school officials or teachers advocating social justice, it is important to ask them what specifically they mean, and if they believe that anyone who disagrees in an advocate for injustice is an advocate for injustice. Microaggression. This word is defined by activists as an interaction between people of different races, cultures, or genders in which a member of a victim group, they've always pushed the victim mentality. That's why we have a society that will blame everyone else for their problems. We have grown ass adults blaming other people for their own problems because we were taught this. We're being taught this even more. So they had to amp it up since in 2020, a lot of people woke up and broke out of their, structure, their box, and decided that they weren't believing this bullshit anymore. So they had to amp it up. They had to tighten it, remember the Black Lives Matter movement? Remember Michelle Obama sitting up there saying, I love watching people peacefully protest while a building catches on fire behind her. All that was to throw this movement in. Okay. All right. So we've watched, or you've read enough. You get the gist of what it is now. I want to show you something else. All right. Now we're going to watch this. I got a couple of clips I want to show you guys.
As the debate over CRT rages on, one Illinois high school teacher is sounding the alarm on the controversial curriculum. His name is Frank McCormick, and he wrote a new op-ed. It's, quote, I am a teacher, and yes, critical race theory is in your school. And he joins us now to explain. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for everything that you do. I come from a long history of school teachers, and I know all the work you put into it with little pay, but thank you. You're making such a difference. Tell us about this op-ed. Why did you write it? And give us some examples of what you're seeing.
So I felt compelled to write about this because I felt that the public and parents have been sort of gaslit into this lie that CRT does not exist in education. And what I have seen is that it does, in fact, exist in education. It exists primarily as praxis, or the application of theory. So it's not explicitly taught, but it's used as a lens through which curriculum and lessons are filtered, and a lens that is kind of imparted upon students that asks them to interrogate race in society based on these presuppositions that racism is normal in America and systemic.
So it doesn't actually say at the top of the page in the manual CRT, but it's implied. How do we recognize it?
So what you might look for is when students are asked to, as they use the word or the phrase, interrogate race, they may be lesson plans built upon these presuppositions that racism is systemic. I've seen lesson plans that ask students to do comparisons between apartheid in South Africa and the United States today, or lesson plans that ask students to analyze the so-called connection between police and slave patrols. And so those are examples of where the kind of built-in assumptions of critical race theory are being imparted upon students with no debate and no questions. It's presented as empirical fact.
Okay, your school district released a statement. Mr. McCormick is within his rights to submit opinion pieces to the local newspaper. In expressing his personal opinion, he is not speaking as a representative of any school or our school district. What's the name of your school district?
Waukegan Public Schools.
Okay, what's your reaction to what they said?
I'm not surprised. They're going to give a typical kind of political response. I think they're trying to figure out exactly how to handle me. But I'm not going to back down, and I'm not going to be quiet about this, because I think it's critically important that
He has to be
parents and the
handled.
public understand what's going on and that we have this discussion.
Are you worried about retaliation?
I'm not really worried anymore. I'm more worried about the long-term consequences for kind of the social fabric of our country if this kind of racial identitarianism gets fomented in students. That scares me a lot more than the short-term consequences of a job.
What are your colleagues saying?
I think most of them think I'm crazy. I tell teachers, if you do this, you kind of make yourself public enemy number one and just expect to be ostracized as a result.
Okay, so that's a teacher's view. Next, I'm going to show you the student's view. All right, here we go.
Inside these schools. Despite the board's attempt to deny it, District 196 schools are quickly becoming a place where promoting activism is actually more important than promoting education. I'll take you back to my first day at RHS this fall. The principal came out and gave us a heartfelt speech about equality and standing together. He began to list countless races, such as Latino, Asian, expressing how much they matter and how important they are. But never once did he mention a race or identity that reflects me, or half the kids that were in the class. Now, members of the board, I know you haven't been to school in a while, and I know none of you, or most of you, don't have any kids left in the school district. But you must admit how uncomfortable it will be to be characterized just by your skin color on the first day of school, and be thought that you were wrong just because of your skin color. So I will never forget the look one of my friends gave me from across the room as we were sitting there listening to this blatant bias being expressed in the so-called equity statement by the leader of our school. To be clear, I don't need you to tell me that I matter, but hearing the condolences given to other races and leaving just one race out, inevitably you'll start to feel like you've done something wrong. And in our principal's attempt to unify us, he instead created unwarranted boundaries and barriers between his students, pitting us against each other based on characteristics that we can't control. In another separate instance, I was told that writing "All Lives Matter" on the whiteboard was political and could be seen as offensive. When I questioned the teacher after class, she told me that she didn't have an answer and she just had to erase it, and it was quickly erased. There are political signs all over RHS about specific races that matter, specific sexual orientations that matter, and specific perspectives that matter. But when I questioned the RHS
Sexual orientations that matter, because now this is where we're going to get into the Dylan Mulvaney and the Jeffrey Marsh stuff, okay? Because this is where they threw it in. They threw it in. Now, all these other groups are supposed to be more special and more important, and because of their sexual orientation, they are special now. And that's why we're seeing a lot of complaints about, I'll show you that in a minute. A lot of complaints about drag shows to kids. Look, I don't care what your sexual orientation is. I don't give a shit. You don't care about mine. I don't care about yours. It shouldn't be taught in the school. Kids don't need to be worrying about someone's sexual orientation. That's not an education curriculum. Okay? Just, it's not right. What the?
Administration about how these signs were political, they told me that they were supporting human rights. So when I questioned why the equity statement couldn't represent all students, they told me that to even ask that question was outlandish and offensive. And when I asked why that was, they told me, quote, "Whites have a pretty good situation right now," unquote. So is that not racism? Disregarding my question merely because of the color of my skin? To be honest, after enduring a year of the people in charge telling me that I'm a racist and I'm privileged and pointing out our irreversible differences, I've never noticed race more. And it's becoming the first thing I notice when I meet someone, which has never before been the case. RHS administration confidently told me that RHS students and staff are happy with their equity statement. But from my experience in talking with other students, this is not the case. I know many kids who disagree with their teachers, but they're too scared to stand up because they're worried that their grades will be docked and their learning experience will be affected. My honors government teacher, I'm not going to say his name, but he's mentioned that Democrats care more about all people while Republicans only care about themselves. And he's also inferred to us that socialism is better than democracy. He even had a statue. He had a statue of a socialist leader in his classroom. I've been told by a lot of kids that they just stay silent and adjust their schoolwork to reflect an acceptable opinion to secure a good grade. I've been approached by multiple teachers who have told me in private that they just want to say that they agree with me and they support me standing up, but they can't say it in front of the class for fear of being disciplined by the administration in some way or losing their jobs. There is clearly only one way to think in this district, and that is that they are teaching their kids to shut up if they don't agree. Now, members of the board, I want you to take a good look at yourselves in the mirror tonight and ask, are you really standing up for the equality of all people, or are you just pushing a damaging political ideology on our students? A fellow coworker at my job, who by the way is of color, discreetly told me that the schools seem to be pushing a very leftist agenda in class. This proved that not everyone is happy with your school, and not everyone who isn't happy is white. Now, due to all these instances I've mentioned and many more that I can't fit in this 5-minute speech, I've decided to leave this district and continue school on a private Christian school online.
A private Christian school online.
And there will be sacrifices, and I will not get to walk in the graduation ceremony or...
Now, that's just sad. That's just sad that he has to give up walking with his fellow graduates because he doesn't want to be a part of racism. When they turned around and said that we were white privileged, that they turned us into the enemy. Now we're being looked down upon. I see racism more now than ever before. I agree with him. Okay, so that kid had a lot to say about, CRT, critical race theory. And that even though the school district may deny, or some school districts may deny that they are teaching that, he showed clearly where in his school district they are. Now, I'm not saying every school district is, but there are laws that were passed to protect them. Now, this next video is a mom that's complaining about a Halloween drag show in the school. Now, let me state clearly, because I'm going to do a video later about Dylan and the other guy. And the reason I'm doing it is because they are stripping away what women are. They're stripping it away and turning it into, in the moment, he decides he wants to be a woman. Well, he's a woman, and then he's awesome, and oh, his journey to get there is praised, and it's a mockery. They're making a mockery out of women, and I'm not understanding why. Why they're wanting to take away all of our rights, They're wanting to make us less than, and I don't understand. I don't understand why they're putting us back in this box unless it's a control movement, which I know it is. I'm not stupid. I know it is. All right, but check out this next video. Oh, wait a minute.
Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland, has ordered federal agents to investigate parents who dare to complain about their school boards. In particular, parents are no longer allowed to say anything when creepy adults sexualize their children. Come to my van, little girl, I've got some candy. Don't say a word. But that has not kept some parents quiet. In San Diego County, California, one mother, called Brittany Mayer, noticed that her school board was supposed to be educating her children, had instead invited them to a, quote, family-friendly drag show sponsored by a San Francisco Gender Reassignment Surgery Center and a nightclub. Here's what she said at a recent meeting of the Encinitas Union School Board, which promoted the event.
What is it about a grown man costumed in a sparkly bra with augmented boobs busting out, a leather miniskirt barely covering his twerking a tuck tape on his front while spreading his fish-netted legs as he writhes on the ground, grinding his groin next to a minor, family-friendly? You owe us an answer. We have a culture that has a massive problem with child porn, with sex trafficking. You, a little school district board of adults, made the decision to feature an event to hypersexualize young children. Do you want to know that the word that defines that? It's groomer. You all played the activist pimp for an Align Surgical Center and for a 21-plus gay bar. It makes you groomers and activist pimps, and we won't have those sitting on a school board who oversees the education of our children.
Brittany Mayer was not arrested, apparently, because she's joining us tonight, and we're glad that she is. Brittany, thanks so much for coming on. This is the school that's supposed to be educating your kids, and they're sexualizing your kids. How did you find out about this?
So the Union School District took it upon themselves to send out the invitation to all families in Encinitas. And they actually have, it's interesting, they have an approval process that they violated. It says in their rules of conduct that they can't send out anything that is lewd, that is political, that is controversial. And they decided to send out a Boo Bash invitation that is sponsored by a gender reassignment clinic out in San Francisco and a 21-plus gay nightclub in San Diego. So to say we were confused would be an understatement.
What does this have to do with educating your children?
Well, that's a really good question, Tucker. And we asked the board again and again to reconsider and to issue an apology and an explanation, which they didn't, which is why we decided to show up. And I want to make it really clear that this is not an isolated incident. This is coming to every school across the nation.
Yes.
And if you think that it's just going to stay in California, you're dead wrong. This is coming everywhere. And it's why we stood up and we said, we're going to nip this in the bud. We're not going to play by the rules that we're supposed to be afraid that we're going to be punished if we don't speak up now. And I hope that this breeds courage for parents all over the nation who see this trend starting to change where, like you just said, our kids aren't being educated in the fundamentals. They're being hypersexualized.
Yes.
And we are done with this.
How is this different from pedophilia? Do you know?
Say that again.
How is this different from pedophilia?
It's not.
Well, it sounds like it's one and the same. And, you know, that's why I made it really clear that you can slap labels on anything. You can make anything family friendly that you want. And that's the danger of this ideology, is that we're being told to use new terms and new language, which is, I think we do a disservice when we play by those rules. We need to stand up and use the words as the words that we know what they mean. And what those adults are doing is they're pimping out our kids to gender reassignment clinics, and they're pimping them out to 21-plus nightclubs. And like I said, it's coming all over the nation, and we need to now use brave words and words with meaning and call it like it is.
Yeah. I mean, I just have sat in awe and watched passive parents let creepy adults sexualize their children, and it's just so gratifying to see someone say enough. So thank you for doing that and for telling us about it tonight.
Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Thank you, Tucker.
Amen.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch.
Subscribe to the Fox News. I mean, you can if you want. Like, share, and subscribe because it helps the channel. Like, share, and subscribe because it helps the channel. Anyways, so I got another video I want to show you, and then we'll probably be ending this. It is coming to our schools, even our schools. And critical race theory, because I live in a highly racist area to begin with. I'm not racist. I actually grew up in Texas. I grew up in Waco, Texas, or around that area, and I was the minority in school. And I was surrounded by Hispanic and people of color, but they were my friends. So I never looked at them differently. I never didn't notice that, you know, unless they were dealing with a race issue, then, you know, unless they were dealing with the race issue, then I seen it. But racism wasn't a thing in the school I grew up in. It just wasn't. So anyways, let's look at this next video. It's interesting. This man is a parent, and he's a man of color, and he wants to tell you what he thinks about critical race. All right, so pretty much we have witnessed, and it's all over. Like, you can research all over YouTube. There's videos everywhere where people, parents, students are standing up against this. Like, enough is enough. And the way that they're like trying to eliminate the feminine race, like, that's just how I feel. That's what I think. I gotta fix these. Okay, so this next man, he's awesome. He is going to say that basically, and he's not sparing any words. He's using the words we've been given and chosen. All right, I had to take care of an argument. You guys know I have 50 kids. I'm going to do a video later about grandparents. It'll be coming out later on this week about how many grandparents and great-grandparents are raising their grandchildren in just the state of Ohio and the impact it has. But I also found some other interesting information for Ironton residents. Did you know that the basic standard income for Ironton is only $59,000 a year? So doesn't that make you wonder how some of the people in our county show that they seem to make more money than that? It doesn't show it on the books that they make that much money. You know, that they only make $59,000 a year. No. It only shows that on the books. But when you look at their homes and you start looking at the things that they have, like, how did they get that money? How did they get that kind of money? And these are our official workers. It makes you wonder. So when a bill is passed and a road is fixed, maybe a little bit of money goes in a pocket here, or if somebody gets pulled over and they get arrested, maybe that's why they're getting arrested and going through the system for low-level crimes. Low-level crimes. Did you know that the crime rate in Lawrence County is so low? High crimes, big crimes is so low, it's only like 2%. Then why do we have the highest arrest record? It just makes you wonder, guys. It just blows your mind. So listen to this guy. We're on critical race theory. I digress, and I need to step back. Critical race theory. Listen to what this gentleman has to say about that. All right, here we go.
When you talk about critical race theory, which is pretty much going to be teaching kids how to hate each other, how to dislike each other, that's pretty much what it's going to, that's pretty much, I don't care what you say, it's pretty much what it's going to all come down to. You're going to deliberately teach kids, this white kid right here got it better than you because he white? You're going to purposely tell a white kid, oh, the black people are all down and suppressed. How do I have 2 medical degrees if I'm sitting here oppressed? How did I get, first of all, time up, because I only got 5 minutes now. 2 medical degrees. No mom, no dad in the house. Worked my way through college. Sat there and hustled my butt off to get through college. You gonna tell me somebody that looked like all y'all white folks kept me from doing that? Are you serious? What's sickening about this whole thing is what y'all doing right now is already something I do in my community right now to speak out against stuff because black folks are getting told by other black folks, oh, you know you ain't gonna be able to do nothing out there in the world because them white folks ain't gonna let you get no, oh, you know you're not gonna be able to do it here because you know the white man gonna keep you down. Well, how did I get where I am right now if some white man kept me down? How am I now directing over folks that look just like you guys in this room right now? How? What kept me down? What oppressed me? I worked for myself from off the streets to where I am right now. You gonna sit here and tell me this lie of critical race theory? This the reason why black folks can't get ahead because of white folks? Are you kidding me? This is what we come to now. I can't believe we even talking about this right now. The last thing I'm gonna say right here is something that's crazy. Martin Luther King said he wanted his kids to grow up in a world where they are judged by the contents of their what? Their character, not their skin. If they letting this stuff go on right now, it is absolutely doing the complete reverse of what he's doing. So when February comes, don't talk about Martin Luther King. When February comes, don't talk about Black History Month. If y'all gonna sit there and just pretty much pee on his grave with this nonsense, that's exactly what's about to happen. When it all comes down to it, the person that's gonna be suffering from this, the one's gonna be hurt from this, is the kids. 10 years from now, if this stuff goes on, whose fault is it gonna be? Whose fault is it going to be? Who we going to look back on and blame for this? Because this is stuff we talking about right now. This stuff is going on right now. I do this stuff on a daily basis. I'm in the hood. I'm in the communities. I'm out there with folks in their face. I've been doing this stuff since I was 18 years old, talking to black folks. And you know what? None of them are buying this nonsense. None of them are. But if you want to implement this into the school system, I guarantee you to the day that I die, I'm going to be the very person right there debunking stuff, tearing stuff down, letting them know they can do exactly what I did and get exactly where I am by putting themselves to work and getting there. And ain't not one white person ever going to keep any of them from getting there. So the CRT stuff, BS.
So the CRT stuff is BS. I agree. I agree 100. Do you know how many friends? I'm not on Facebook that much anymore. I do have a Facebook account, guys. I actually had built myself up on Facebook and had like 6,000 followers. And then someone hacked my account and I've never been able to get back into it. So there went that. Now, however, I lost friends that I went to school with because they believed this crap right here. No one oppresses you but yourself. But yourself. Because if you have a trauma, a traumatic event that you have not healed, then you're going to keep repeating things that bring that up, that relate to that. And so, and you don't heal this trauma, and you go to the next trauma, and you go to the next trauma, and you have all these traumas you have not healed. That's how you get psychologically oppressed, not by somebody with a different skin color as you. None of this matters. And it does not need to be in the schools. So anyways, I hope that this video is enjoyable. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got anything off of it. I'm gonna hop on out of here. Remember to be the reason that you believe. Be the reason someone believes in good people. And I'll catch you on the next video, guys. Like, share, and subscribe, please. And I will see you later. Have a good day.